Welcome to today's edition of the Daily Insider here on VegasInsider.com. I am Kevin Rogers. It is Friday, June 18th, and we are ready to go. And very excited about today, considering we're at the end of the week. So looking forward to the weekend, U.S. Open. The first round was suspended yesterday. Now it's back on today, and they're going to start the second round out in California. So that's good news for those of you that are keeping an eye on that. Louis O, Russell Henley, right now atop the leaderboard at 4 under par. And a lot of other golfers are a few behind at 3 under. Jon Rahm at 2 under. So far, he's at even par through 4 so far today. And Rory McIlroy on the course now. He's at 1 under. And you have there's a lot of action today out at Torrey Pines in Southern California. So that is. Check out the latest odds with the U.S. Open. You can do so on our homepage here. And you can find the odds where Jon Rahm is still the favorite at plus 550 and Brooks Koepka right behind. Also, Rory McIlroy at 12-1 and Bryson DeChambeau at 30-1. He's got to make a little bit of a comeback to get back into He's at 3 over so far. So DeChambeau struggling so far at the U.S. Open. But if you want to keep an eye on the U.S. Open odds, you can do so on VegasInsider.com all throughout the weekend. We'll have updated odds every day as the tournament continues. So before we get to the NBA playoffs and Major League Baseball, let's first begin reminding you about the Daily Insider Contest, which we like to do every single day here on the show. And it's very easy. The prize is a week's worth of handicapper picks from one handicapper of your choosing. Now, how do you win the prize? In the comments section below this video, put your Vegas Insider user ID along with your best bet for the day. Now, it can be Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL, WNBA. Doesn't matter. Could be even the Euro 2020. But it's got to be before the game or match begins. It cannot be a live bet. And put your best bet. It can be a side. It can be a total. It can be a player prop bet in the NBA. It can be a player prop bet in baseball. It can be a first 5-inning play. Pretty much anything that you want as long as it's before the game. And you'll be in the drawing, assuming you win your best bet. You'll be in the drawing for a week's worth of handicapper picks from one handicapper of your choosing on VegasInsider.com, and that's a $100 value. Now, if you do not have a Vegas Insider user ID, that's fine, because you go up to the big yellow register button in the upper right-hand corner. Free membership. Register now. Click on that. And if you click on it, I got to click on the right page, then you can create a user ID and a password along with your email address, first and last name, phone number to get in contact with you. Our marketing team will get in contact with you, assuming you are the winner, and at least we'll have that information there. So if you do not have the user ID, that's fine. You can create it for free. That's what I want to mention. It is free. No obligation. So with all that being said, let's look back at the NBA from last night. And you had just the one game, and now we are guaranteed at least one Game 7 in the second round. Milwaukee beats Brooklyn 104-89. And I did like Milwaukee. I had it on the best bet video on VegasInsider.com. I mentioned it yesterday. I even said yesterday as well, if you can get in on Milwaukee at 10-1, that was as high as it got to win the title. I think it was a good play. Now that thing is just dropping, because now the Bucks are going to a Game 7 against the Nets. And Brooklyn made it interesting. They hung around. They are at a disadvantage, obviously, because Kyrie Irving's still out. James Harden scored 16 points, so he played better. Kevin Durant had 32 and 11, but the expected drop by Jeff Green happened. He only scored 5 points. The Nets were 9 of 30 from three-point range, and Milwaukee was able to get not only a big night from Giannis Antetokounmpo, who had 30, and also this is the best thing about Giannis last night. It wasn't 30 points. It wasn't 17 rebounds. It was three-point attempts, 0. He didn't take one three-point attempt. So that's good that Giannis finally is listening and is not shooting the ball from long distance. Now, on the flip side, Drew Holiday maybe should take that same advice because he was 1 of 10 from three-point range. That's a miracle. The Bucks won the game the way they did in spite of that shooting night from Drew Holiday. He finished with 21, but Chris Middleton had 38 points and 10 rebounds, 11 of 16 from the floor. He was 5 of 8 from three-point range. So Pat Connaughton and Drew Holiday combined, and Brook Lopez combined to go 1 of 18 from 3, and yet they still won by 15 points, which is pretty impressive. But Milwaukee's been terrible from three-point range this whole series. And now they head home. Another under last night, by the way. Just keep cashing those unders between these two teams. So Milwaukee and Brooklyn, now they go back to Barclays Center for Game 7 Saturday night. And the winner goes to the Eastern Conference Finals. That number has opened up with Brooklyn now is a 1-point favorite. Pick'em total is dropped all the way down to 214.5, 215.5. That is insane how much that total has dropped. It's just crazy to think that you started off with 239.5 in the first game between these two teams, and it's going to drop 25 points going into the final game of this series. That with Kyrie Irving out, with James Harden having his struggles, that you're having just this point total drop. And I really wonder, too, this is what I'm curious about. When you look at the last series, or in the first round between Dallas and the Clippers, you had all these games that went over. Then they went under. And when it was all said and done, that last game, that Game 7, was a complete shootout. And it was an easy over. It was like 210. So now that we've had all of this, all this movement with the line, that now is the time you finally say in game number 7 between the Nets and the Bucks that this is the game that we're finally going to see an over. That we had a push in game number 5. We had a push because you had some late free throws. So in game 5, you had that. But still haven't seen the over yet. That you finally get the over on Saturday night. That is very, very possible. Now let's look at tonight's action inside of the NBA. You have 2 big Game 6s. Philadelphia and Atlanta. We'll start with them. Sixers laying 3 to the Hawks. I do like Philadelphia in this game. Atlanta has had, when you look back at it, 2 excellent halves and 1 excellent quarter in this series. That's why it's 3-2 Atlanta. That the Hawks dropped 74 on the Sixers in the first half of Game 1. Held off Philadelphia. In Game 4, Sixers had a meltdown in the second half, and Atlanta took advantage and won. And that was a game Joel Embiid was 4 of 20 from the floor and 0 of 12 in the second half, and he missed that easy layup at the end. And then in Game 5, Philadelphia was in control of 26. Hawks outscore the Sixers 40-19 in the fourth quarter. I don't want to take away from Atlanta. They've had a very good playoff run. They ran the Knicks. They're up 3-2 on Philadelphia, and there's a chance if it all ends, they go to a Game 7 if they don't get out of this round. So that's a really good job. Nate McMillan took over and got this team from below 500 to a division title. Trae Young is obviously a star. I just think Philadelphia, in spite of everything, is better. And you're not going to get the 36 points again from Seth Curry, but you're not going to get a terrible shooting night from Tobias Harris. Ben Simmons is the key because Ben Simmons has got to score and Ben Simmons has got to hit free throws. That this is just so mental at this point with him that you're missing 10 free throws in a game is unacceptable. I mean, unacceptable for a guy like that. I mean, I don't know if Shaq missed 10 free throws in a game. You got to hit free throws. And Philadelphia laying 3, considering Atlanta's last 6 home losses have come by double digits. That is feast or famine for the Hawks. I wouldn't be opposed to taking Atlanta in Game 7 because Philadelphia probably laying 6, I'm sure. But I think Philly gets through this one tonight, and they beat Atlanta. I don't have an opinion on the total. Then you got Jazz Clippers, which is the late game out of Staples Center. Donovan Mitchell is not 100% for Utah. Mike Conley has not played yet in this series. Kawhi is still out for the Clippers. Maybe I'm buying into it. I don't know. But the way Paul George is playing right now, that he's just on another level, he's in the zone where he scored 31, 31, and 37 the last 3 games for LA. The Clippers, here, what the funny thing is, they weren't dead in the water down 2-0 to Utah. I tried to see what would happen going to Staples Center. They've been down 2-0 in 2 consecutive series. And the difference with this round against Utah as opposed to last round against Dallas, they were down 3-2 and had to win 2 just to get out of that first round against Dallas. And now you see what kind of mess the Mavs organization is in. Rick Carlisle's not the coach anymore. They have all these problems. But besides that point, the Clippers have never been to the conference finals in franchise history, which is unbelievable. They have a chance to close out the top-seeded Utah Jazz at home tonight. Kawhi's not coming back anytime soon. At least that's what it seems like. This is the opportunity for LA as a short underdog, playing back at home where Utah should have won in a walk in Game 5, knowing Kawhi was out, and they still ended up losing that game to the Clippers. And again, it's all about the role players. You know, I mentioned with Brooklyn, Jeff Green was going to do what he did again. You know, Seth Curry, I don't know if he's going to get 36 again for the Sixers. We know what Reggie Jackson can do for LA. Marcus Morris is kind of hit or miss. But that's what the Clippers need. In Utah, when you look at Donovan Mitchell, and for as good of a player as he is, he's probably not 100% with that ankle injury. Bogdanovich has been up and down in the series. Gobert's going to get you your double-double every night. Joe Ingles, you don't know what you can get from him. But Utah depends on the 3 so much that they just can't hit it. They're in trouble. I do like LA in that second game. I think they close it out because they don't want to go back to Utah. I don't think, with everything, getting that 3-2 lead, now you got the shot at home. I really don't think they want to go back there and have to deal with the Jazz again. And the Clippers, here's the other thing about the Clippers too. If the Clippers can win tonight, the Western Conference Finals will start on Sunday, and they'll face Phoenix, and Chris Paul probably won't play. So you have this golden opportunity to knock out Utah and then grab maybe a 1-0 lead on Phoenix without a Hall of Fame point guard there. So that's where that's the situation for the Clippers tonight, that they don't want to go back to Utah for a Game 7, and then if you somehow won that Game 7, who knows when Chris Paul's coming back. I just think the opportunity is there for LA tonight, and Paul George is playing so well that he's going to carry this team without Kawhi. And then Milwaukee-Brooklyn coming up tomorrow night. The over could be worth a look. I really think that now these two teams, you've gone from 239.5 to 215. We don't know what Kyrie Irving's situation is, if he's going to come back or not, but I know these teams haven't really sniffed an over, or every game that's gone under has stayed significantly under the total, but I don't know, this could be the shot. Let's take a look at now Major League Baseball, and let's look ahead to tonight's action. Mets and the Nationals from Washington, and Nationals off a sweep of the Pirates. The Mets actually took the first 2 against the Cubs, but then lost the finale. Kyle Hendricks was masterful last night for Chicago. Marcus Stroman pitched well, too, for New York. They just couldn't get any offense going. Javi Baez hit an early home run for the Cubs, and Chicago ended up winning that game to avoid the sweep. So, yeah, Mets-Nationals, they're meeting up tonight in D.C., and the last time they played, and I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'll say it anyway, that I believe, I should have to double check here, that the Mets did sweep the Nationals at Citi Field when they played back in, that was in late April. No, excuse me, they took 2 of 3, the Mets. That's right, Joe Ross beat him in the second game. 2 of 3. Now, Eric Fedde goes for Washington. Last time he faced the Mets, he was opposite Jacob deGrom. And he was almost a 300 underdog, plus 300 underdog. Now he's favored against Joey Lucchesi. So the Nationals favored at home. They've been playing a little better of late. And the Mets, they have the best home record in baseball, 20-7, but just 15-19 on the road. So we'll see what New York does away from Citi Field. St. Louis and Atlanta, the Braves finally busted out of their slump last night, a 4-0 win over the Cardinals, and Charlie Morton pitched the best game he's had all season long, had a no-hitter going to the 7th inning last night, and the Cardinals, their offense continues to struggle. Now, the problem is with St. Louis, you have all these names, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, and they have scored a combined 9 runs in the last 6 games. 5 straight unders for St. Louis. And Atlanta, now they just got to get on track. The problem is the Braves, like they get on, they can get on a small winning streak, but then they go on this losing streak. They're 31-35. They're not out of it, but Atlanta's got to get something going. Max Fried and Carlos Martinez on the mound tonight, and Martinez, he is 0-3 his last 3 starts. Did pitch better his last time out. That was Sunday night against the Cubs. 7 innings, 2 earned runs, but they lost 2-0. And look, the Cardinals in Martinez's last 3 starts have scored 3-1 and 0 runs. It's not going to get you anywhere. The Marlins and the Cubs we don't have on there because the Marlins don't have a starting pitcher. But Zach Davies is going to start for Chicago, still waiting on that line. Milwaukee and Colorado. Second game of their series. Brandon Woodruff gave up a grand slam in the opening inning last night. A grand slam and a solo homer. So it's 5-0 Colorado right out of the chute in the first inning of that game. And Milwaukee's offense couldn't get going. They got a 3-run double, and that was it. They lost 7-3. And that game stayed under the total of 10.5. It was at 10, and then it closed at 10.5. But the Brewers, though, they end up losing their 4th straight game. And they've scored 7 runs the last 4 games. So they're in a bit of a slump now. Colorado's won 4 in a row. But they're a heavy underdog tonight against Corbin Burnes, who hasn't made a lot of road starts this season. In fact, for Corbin Burnes, his last 4 starts have all come at home, and 6 of his last 7 have come at home. Last time he started on the road was at Kansas City, May 19th, as a $1.90 favorite, lost 6-4 to the Royals. But he did defeat the Padres back in April in his previous road start. So now he gets this Rockies team, and we know it's never easy playing at Coors Field. But Colorado's now 24-14 at home. And Milwaukee's 18-13 on the road. They've been, they played well on the road, but you fall in a 5-0 hole and you have no offense, you got problems. Dodgers and the Diamondbacks tonight out in Arizona. Arizona, they are happy because they're not on the road where they've lost 23 straight, which is beyond comprehension. But the Diamondbacks are 11-19 at home, if that means anything. They're 20-50. Arizona's 20-50. And they face Trevor Bauer tonight. But with Trevor Bauer, I do have to mention this. 2.64 ERA, Cy Young winner. We know he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. But this number is astounding, okay, with Trevor Bauer. So far this season, he has made 9, listen to this. Trevor Bauer's made 9 road starts. LA's record in those games, 2-7. The Dodgers have lost 7 of Bauer's 9 road starts this year. Now, that's not him pitching poorly because his road ERA is 2.75. But they've been burned in a lot of those games. So he's got an ERA, or he's got a whip below 1. The Dodgers riding a 3-game under streak. They couldn't pull off a sweep of the Phillies the other night. And Arizona, going back, their road struggles, I mean, it doesn't matter now because they're at home. But they are currently the Arizona Diamondbacks. I mean, this is how pathetic it is. They're riding a 14-game losing streak. They're 24 and a half games behind San Francisco. So they are more games behind San Francisco than they have wins. No one in baseball, well, the Orioles are 20 back of the Rays, but they've only lost 8 in a row. Pittsburgh's lost 10 in a row. Arizona's lost 14 in a row. My God, get these teams a win. So Trevor Bauer, we'll see if that turns around tonight. They're a heavy favorite, obviously. Philadelphia and San Francisco. Giants off the 4-game sweep of Arizona. Phillies, give you an interesting number on them. They are 1-10 this season off a road win. We'll see if that keeps up because they just beat the Dodgers. Vince Velasquez has actually been a pretty good road pitcher for the Phillies. He's had a couple road underdog wins. Johnny Cueto has not been good his last few times out, but I kind of like the Phillies in this spot, even though I mentioned that trend. Bryce Harper's banged up, but Velasquez has not been bad, and also the Giants, for as well as they're playing, it feels like this is a little short of a number, or a short number, I should say. Cincinnati and San Diego, they wrap up the National League night, and if you missed it last night, depending on who you had, there's a lot of different ways to break down this game. So, to give you a quick synopsis if you missed this Reds-Padres game, which was late last night. 7.5 total. Padres a heavy favorite. San Diego up 2-0 going to the 9th inning. So if you have the under, you're in good shape. I talked about you get a little scared when a game can go to extra innings. Your total can just blow up after it's great for 8.5, 9 innings. So Cincinnati scores 4 runs in the top of the 9th inning to go up 4-2. All right. So now you have the Padres. You lost the run line. And you just hope to tie it, maybe go to extra innings. Eric Hosmer hits a 2-run homer for the Padres to tie it. Electric atmosphere at Petco Park. They had a sellout there. So it was 4-4. So now your total, your under's dead. But then Victor Caratini, the former Cubs catcher, now Padres catcher, hit a 2-run walk-off homer. So 4 in the top of the 9th, 4 in the bottom of the 9th, and total blows up. San Diego, who went into the 9th inning with the 2-run lead, they win by 2. So you got the run line win if you were the Padres, or if you had the Padres, you backed them. Obviously, tough loss for Cincinnati, that you thought you had that one in the bag. But the Padres ended up winning that game. So now they turn to tonight, and Chris Paddock goes as an extremely heavy favorite, and that total up to 9 tonight. And again, San Diego at home, they're going to turn things around because on the road they've been pretty poor. Let's move over to the American League. A's and Yankees, they start their series out at Yankee Stadium. And New York off of an 8-4 win over Toronto last night. And the Yankees playing a little bit better now of late. And the A's off a sweep of the Angels. New York at 36-32. Again, they've been just so Jekyll and Hyde at times this year, but pulled off a 3-game sweep of Toronto, and they are currently on an 8-2 run to the over. Meanwhile, for Oakland, they have won 6 consecutive games. They're coming off a homestand where they went 8-1, but they played Arizona, Kansas City, and the Angels. So take it for what it's worth. But they have 5 straight overs, Oakland, so both these teams have nice overruns. Toronto and Baltimore, so the Orioles happy to be back at home because they've been terrible on the road. And the Orioles, they send out Bruce Zimmerman tonight against Robbie Ray. And the Blue Jays, off of that home sweep by the Yankees, now go on the road to face the Orioles. And Baltimore facing Toronto for the first time since 2020. So kind of odd that we're in mid-June and Toronto and Baltimore have not played yet. But Robbie Ray goes tonight. Last time he started, the Blue Jays blew out the Red Sox, 8 home runs at Fenway Park. But Robbie Ray goes tonight. Last time he started, the Blue Jays blew out the Red Sox, 8 home runs at Fenway Park. But Ray, in his last 5 starts, the Blue Jays are just 2-3, has recorded double-digit strikeouts in his last 2 appearances. And he's obviously pitched better than he did towards the end of his, as opposed to towards the end of his tenure with the Diamondbacks. Zimmerman, he's 4-4, ERA below 5. Baltimore is 3-0 in his last 3 home starts. And a couple as a nice underdog against the Yankees and Twins. In fact, Baltimore 3-0 to the over in his last 3 home starts. So Baltimore 3-0 in his last home starts and 3-0 to the over. So that's a 10 total there at Camden Yards. And Baltimore's coming off 3 straight overs against Cleveland. Minnesota and Texas. This is not pretty. Jose Barrios and Mike Foltynewicz on the mound. And Minnesota avoided a sweep at Seattle a few nights ago, but they're still in a hole, 27-41. Texas, again, they're better at home, 15-16. 10-27 on the highway. So Texas coming off again, here's the stretch the Rangers have just had. And you tell me how anybody would do against these teams. Lost 2 to Houston, lost 2 of 3 to the Dodgers, split with San Francisco, and lost 2 of 3 to Tampa Bay, lost 3 at Colorado, who's one of the better home teams in baseball. So since the start of June, Texas has 3 wins. And they played some rough competition. And now they get Minnesota, who, when you look back at it, the Twins, they have not been good off a win of late. Going back to the end of May, 1-6, their last 7 off a win. And for Barrios, he's coming off a victory over Houston his last time out. Minnesota actually 6-0 in his last 6 starts. But now you're laying 165 with him. I don't care how bad Texas is. That's a lot to lay with Minnesota. Carlos Rodon, meanwhile, staying in Texas, going over to Houston. Carlos Rodon starts for Chicago opposite Luis Garcia. Astros blew out the White Sox last night, 10-2, so it's now 4 straight wins for the Astros. Alex Bregman still out for Houston. He's on the IL. And for Rodon, he's a slight favorite tonight. ERA of less than 2, 6-2 record for Rodon. He's allowed 1 earned run or less in 4 of his last 5 starts. That's pretty impressive. Luis Garcia is actually not a bad pitcher for Houston. He did lose his last start to Minnesota. That was opposite Jose Barrios, who I just mentioned. But before that, the Astros had won Garcia's previous 5 starts. And he pitched really well in those games. He's got a 4-start under streak going. The Angels and the Tigers, they continue their series out in Anaheim. And LA held off Detroit last night to end their losing streak, but they won 7-5. Yeah, LA, they play these teams like the Angels and the Diamondbacks and the Royals. They're going to beat them. They play Oakland. They don't beat them. Detroit had their 3-game winning streak snapped. Jose Urena goes tonight for Detroit. 5.16 ERAs. Winless in his last 2 starts. Got racked by the White Sox his last time out, giving up 8 runs in less than 2 innings of work. But, I mean, Urena has been really like feast or famine because when you look back at his last 10 starts, 6 of them he's allowed 2 earned runs or less. 4 of them he's allowed, let me tighten that a little bit. 7 starts in the last 10 he's allowed 3 earned runs or less. Not bad. But in 3 of them he's allowed 4, 5, and 8. So it's been a little tough. But he goes opposite Alex Cobb tonight, and Cobb, not great his last 2 starts. He's allowed 5 earned runs each to the Mariners and the Diamondbacks. But the Angels managed to win both those games, and the Angels are 4-0 in his last 4 starts. So for Cobb, who has pitched much better at home than on the road, he's been, I guess, well, him and Ohtani's been great for LA this year on the mound. But as far as non-Ohtani's, it's been Alex Cobb because Andrew Haney's been inconsistent and Dylan Bundy hasn't been great. But Detroit, we'll see if they can get back on track. Their offense has been a little bit better of late, which is a good sign. Tampa Bay and Seattle, last American League game of the night. And the Mariners rallied past the Rays last night to win 6-5. So it's now 4 wins in the last 5 games for Seattle. They got 2 in the ninth inning to beat Tampa Bay. And the Rays, now they have lost 3 in a row. After they came back against Chicago 2 days ago, down 7-0, came back and tied up, and then lost in extra innings, and then lost last night after blowing that lead. And Michael Wacha starts for Tampa Bay tonight. Wacha really hasn't gone far in a lot of these starts. He's gone 2 2/3, 2 innings. Like, he's just not going far in these starts. And Yusei Kikuchi goes for Seattle. He had some really bad luck his last start out against Cleveland. 4-0 lead they blew. They lost 5-4 to the Indians, even though he had 7 scoreless innings. So we'll see if he bounces back from that defeat. And Seattle 1-2 in his last 3 starts at home. But that was a tough one because the Mariners had that one in the bag against Cleveland a few days ago. Cleveland and Pittsburgh, that's the lone interleague game this weekend. And some notes on the Pirates here. They have lost 10 straight games. Also, they are 0-6 as a dog in home series openers. Cleveland 4-0 in their last 4 road series openers in the favorite role. And Chad Kuhl, who goes for Pittsburgh tonight, the Pirates 3 wins with him starting, all as heavy underdogs. And now he's a short underdog here. And I get, jump on Pittsburgh. I'm not trusting Pittsburgh. Here are the fade teams. It's not even fade teams. It's just about not backing teams. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Texas, Arizona. Like, these teams have been so bad of late. And I did say that I don't trust Minnesota tonight against Texas. Doesn't mean I trust Texas. It means I just don't trust Minnesota. But Pittsburgh, they're 19 under 500. Cleveland's playing well. And they've won 4 straight. They swept Baltimore. 10-8, 7-4. That's what they scored in the last 4 games. I'm not trusting Pittsburgh. I just can't do it. The NHL tonight, you go to Canada. So the first non-Canadian team heading to Canada. That's the Vegas Golden Knights, as they are laying 165 against Montreal after they blew Game 2, or just lost Game 2. I mean, Canadians now have tied that series at 1 game apiece, now heading to Montreal for a pivotal Game 3 tonight, and we'll see what Vegas can do the next few games playing north of the border. Last night, you had the Lightning with another road win, 2-1 over the Islanders. They've been great on the road so far in the playoffs, stays under the total. And Tampa Bay, after losing the first game of that series to the Islanders, they've now won 2 straight, so they're back in control. And again, the Euro 2020 continues. Wanted to remind you about that all you soccer fans out there. Earlier today, in the Euro 2020, Sweden edged Slovakia 1-0. Czech Republic and Croatia, they're scoreless right now. Scotland and England coming up at 3 o'clock Eastern. And then tomorrow's schedule, France and Hungary at 9 a.m., Germany, Portugal at noon, Poland and Spain at 3. So we got plenty of action with the Euro 2020, and I mentioned the U.S. Open as well, that you can check out updated odds every day on the tournament. And we also have the Ally 400 coming up this weekend at Nashville, UFC Vegas 29. So a lot of stuff to watch out for. And also, again, the NBA. You have 2 Game 6s tonight. You have 2 top seeds knocked out, potentially. And you have the NHL semifinals as well as Major League Baseball free picks with Kevin Davis. You can find all of that on our homepage at VegasInsider.com. Want to remind you again about the Daily Insider Contest. And again, you can enter by putting up your Vegas Insider user ID and your best bet for the day below in the comments section of this video. And if you win, you'll be in the drawing for a week's worth of handicapper picks for free on VegasInsider.com for one handicapper of your choosing. Not everyone, just one handicapper. and it's a $100 value. You get that for free. And just put your Vegas Insider user ID along with your best bet for the day. It can be Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL, WNBA. As long as it's not a live bet, it's got to be before the game. It could be a side, it could be a total, it can be a player prop bet, it could be a first 5-inning bet in baseball, it could be a first half bet in the NBA. Doesn't matter. That's up to you. If you do not have a Vegas Insider user ID, that's fine, because you go up to the big yellow register button here in the upper right-hand corner, click on that. Free membership. Register now. It's free. Create a user ID, create a password, email address, first and last name, phone number, and you'll be all set to go with that. So, I am Kevin Rogers. Thank you so much for tuning in this week, or even today, to the Daily Insider here on VegasInsider.com. We'll be back with you coming up on Monday. Tom Cunningham will be on. He'll be steering the ship on Monday at noon. So we're looking forward to that, and he'll review everything from the weekend. I am Kevin Rogers. Thank you so much for tuning in, and as always, best of luck with your bets.